Hello, can we talk?
Yeah, what's up?
Cause you're my favorite girl. You make my simple.
Hi. You're loving the hair today. What's going on?
Yeah, I did it for this podcast, the much awaited breakthrough of a life.
I think this has taken longer than some of my relationships. I'm not even kidding. Like it's gone longer. Like the planning has gone longer than some of my situationships and relationships. I'm not even kidding.
I mean, since when? Like, how long do we know each other for? We have been friends since what? 2008?
So what is 2025 minus 2008?
17 years?
Is that correct? I don't know math. Like please don't ask me. I literally don't know
I
math.
know you don't, I know you don't know math. 17 years, Jesso. We've been friends for 17 years.
I feel like, but can I tell you something? What I used to think of myself in 2008, I don't know why I thought I was so like mature in eighth standard. I used to think like, I have it all figured out. I know what I want. I feel like, I
Really?
don't know, it's not changed though. Like do you feel more mature every year?
It's so funny that you are saying this because I've been thinking about this since so long. And I think I've brought it up when we've been talking also. Like, so we both were in Mayo, right? And
Mm,
I joined Mayo in class 8th,
it's-
and you joined Mayo in class 7th, right? And I think I brought it up also when we were talking. And I I was 13, you were 12 or whatever, we have 1 year gap. And now I am 30 and you were 29, right? I just feel, and I'm really proud of myself in that so many transitions, right? Like coming from a small town, like Varanasi was a small town, Benares was a small town, and then coming to Mayo, where I had such a cosmopolitan environment. Like you were from Nepal, Kanika was from Bangkok, then had people from Bombay, Delhi, like all the big cities and like different countries. And coming as a small town girl, I just am very proud of myself that I, despite like being exposed to so many different environments, I haven't lost myself, you know? I genuinely feel that. I was thinking about that even yesterday. That that's one thing, despite all the imposter syndromes, wherever, I
mm,
can still go back to that 13-year-old
mm.
and I can still identify as that, which is why probably these numbers like, oh my God, we know each other for 17 years. Oh my God, you're 29. Oh my God, I'm 30. Like it hits me harder because I just feel I can go back and like very easily identify with that girl also. What, like, I don't know if that's what you were talking about, but what do you
No,
feel?
I think like the core of who we are. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, like early teen years, I think, in my opinion, like forms the core of who you are. Like your interests, like things I was interested in as a 13-year-old, I'm still interested in as a 30-year-old. And
What? What?
like rom-coms and like,
I knew that was coming.
sure.
It's so fast. This is your fun fact. You know that, right? Like people have fun facts.
If someone asks me at work, what is your fun fact? I can't be like, I binge on rom-coms. That can't be a
Okay, I just want to tell the people who are listening, and guys, this is how chaotic it is going to be, so you have to like figure it out. Jesselina Rana, my bestest friend in this whole world, is a Harvard graduate. She's a lawyer. She is a human rights lawyer working at Civicus, which advises the UN and all the international organizations like across the world globally. She is a Harvard graduate, I mentioned that. A super brilliant girl, topped in Mayo in humanities, runs her own social enterprise that has been awarded by Forbes. Madam is in Forbes 30 under 30 list, okay? And with all of these amazing achievements in her 20s and in her teens, and she's grown, she watches the dumbest shows and the dumbest movies on planet Earth. Like, I just don't know how that brain works.
I feel like that's That's the unfortunate reality of
Yeah,
like,
yeah, but I'm genuinely telling you. I'm
there's
genuinely.
this thing called the Madonna whore complex. So I think there's a bimbo intellect complex that plays out. Like you can either be, and I feel like movies like Legally Blonde were trying to really push the narrative of
Yeah, that's your life story, right?
that's my lifestyle. That's why I'm wearing pink today. I'm not even kidding. Like I'm wearing pink today for that because I want it to be
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
no, but it's literally that, right? Like, why do structures of intellect always have to cater to the masculine form, right? Like, why is pink or anything feminine seen as counterproductive to intellect, which is so unfortunate. So I think even when we say dumb movies, these movies create so much influence in pop culture. Mean Girls, see how much influence there is in pop culture till date. Like I'm not even kidding, right?
yeah.
How much revenue these movies are able to surpass, how much it's able to surpass in terms of pushing people to understand body dysmorphia when we're younger. You know,
Yeah.
big intellectual movies aren't catering to what a 15-year-old is feeling in high school, and you need those movies to be relatable to all types of like the YA crowd, the young adult crowd.
I want to steer our conversation to what. How does it feel to be 29 in New York? I really want to talk to you about it. Like, a lot of, I never, and I think I was talking to you about it before. I never used to care about age. Never. Maybe a part of it was because since I was 22, I was dating someone who was older than me, like 6 years older than me. Um, and then we got married and all. So I was always this, I don't know, I think that was one perspective that sort of shaped because, my friends were younger than him. Uh, a lot of like, and so I was the younger one. Like even in my family, I have mostly been the younger one, at least in my father's side. Age has never been an insecurity for me, you know but it has just been, I don't know, the timing of it all is like that. Now that I was at that inflection point of 29 to 30, like this whole change that, and I used to watch this thing like Friends. May Joey is crying or Rachel is crying over cutting the cake when they're 10, and I used to always like look forward to it. I have always looked forward to aging. I always wanted to be 28. I always wanted to be in my 30s. And I talk to myself every day, but the whole thing of just moving from my comfort zone, India, where I lived there, like I lived there for 10 years, moving to Los Angeles, deciding to do my master's, then realizing while I was doing my master's that everyone who's doing that course is not even 25. Like I swear 25 is old over there. Like everyone is in their early 20s. It is just, I don't know, it's messing up in my brain. Like this whole age conversation, like okay, weight conversation, looks conversation, where am I in the career, where am I in my career, relationship insecure, am I desirable? All of these insecurities I have dealt with, but never age, and it's getting like, I'm letting it not get to me, but I don't know. It's just sometimes it gets to me. What about you?
I think the city and the people around you really is what makes a particular age feel the way it should. And I actually say this because when I was in Nepal, I was 22, right? When I moved back to Nepal, I was 22.
Yeah.
I took a big leap, started my own social business that really took up with, I co-founded the social business that really took up. But there were already people who were saying, okay, you know what? You've come back to Nepal, you've done your bachelor's, you've got your bar exam down, you have a business now. It's more than enough time to now start looking at settling down. And
What is settling down?
at settling down, which essentially meant like finding a husband and like figuring out having children before
22?
at 22, 23, because people around me, because I was working in a human rights organization, by
I'm
25
Hmm.
in South Asia, by 25 you're sort of like expected to, in the larger population, expected to like at least be married, and that's not where I was. And now I'm in New York, recently single, very excited for my 20s, and I realize everyone around me is just living life. Like no one feels old here. Everyone looks at settling down from 35, which is also like it has its drawbacks, right? Like a lot of people look at New York as very transitionary. Everyone thinks there are too many options. That's why they're not settling down until they're 35. But as a South Asian woman who has felt the pressure, not from my parents, but from society, always, like any woman has felt pressure of like settling down in South Asia. I think that's very interesting that New York takes all of that pressure away. And it honestly feels liberating. It really feels liberating. So here I feel young. Obviously, it helps that all of my friends, because the grade that I was in, I was one of the younger ones. Every friend of mine is older than me, right?
Yeah,
But I mean that averages out. But I think it's really helpful to be in a city where the larger population just feels young. Even if you're 50, someone feels young. Like, and to be able to know that you can start over at any age, and to actually know that there are people doing that. There are people leaving marriages at 29 and being like, you know what, this isn't working out. I got married at 25, or I got married at 28, and it's not working out. So I need to
yeah,
restart. Like, it is okay. And I think this city gives you that flexibility. So honestly, I think this is the best place for me at this point, to be single, to be, in my late 20s, to figure out what exactly I want in life. I think this
yeah,
city has that space for me to do it.
yeah. No, like that's great, Like for me, I just feel I'm still figuring. Also because I just feel it's a new country, like I do not understand the dynamics, and plus, uh, as much as people claim, Los Angeles is not as diverse as I have found. Like, okay, it is diverse, but I just don't feel that it has so many immigrants. It doesn't have a very strong immigrant culture, you know? And also, even if it does have, it's in pockets because Los Angeles is like LA is very far spread out. So there must be pockets of communities,
Yeah.
but so it's difficult for me to like sort of navigate now that I'm in my 30s. It's as if like it's like I just started something fresh in a fresh decade, it was like
That's
that.
okay. And that's, I know it seems like it's not okay, but I think this was something that you and I were talking. Like, one factor that really helps in New York to be able to not feel so isolated from communities that you relate to is the walkability in
Yeah,
Manhattan, and the subway system that can get you anywhere for $3,
yeah,
right? Like, you're talking right now, and the first you said, there are pockets of communities. And the first thing that struck me was, when I was in LA, you and I both don't drive in LA. So we had a tough time going around,
yeah,
right? Either be reliant on your partner, or we take an Uber,
yeah,
which was so expensive.
yeah,
So
yeah.
to even
Ubers are so
Yeah.
expensive.
So to even have that connection with community, I think the subway creates an important, like,
Yeah,
commute is as is a very important part of how you're connecting to communities. And I
no,
think you mentioned why. I think you were talking to someone the other day, and you had told me about why the subway system isn't even prevalent in LA as much as it is in New York, despite LA being as rich as New York, right?
it's the whole car lobbying, like the whole automobile lobbying that prevents it from doing that. And plus, I just feel it's not in the LA culture to like take public transport. Like everyone just drives here. Like that's the way to get around. Yeah, but it's been interesting. I just feel um so much happened in my 20s.
Hmm.
Like so much.
What is the biggest highlight of your 20s?
Biggest highlight of my 20s.
Like two biggest highlight, maybe one professional, one personal, or I don't know, both personal or both
I'm
professional.
still waiting for a professional highlight.
Okay.
I just feel, I just feel my, I just feel I still need to get where I need to get to
Mm,
call something a highlight.
mm,
But in my 20s, like if I span across, I just feel getting out of a very, very difficult relationship
mm,
and then healing yourself to the extent that because I was in that relationship from when I was 17, right?
mm,
Up till I was 21. It was like a 4 5 year long relationship, 16, whatever. And at such an impressionable, vulnerable age to be with a partner who turns out to be so heavily toxic for you. Like everyone around me, including you and including my mom, were concerned that now this is it. Now this will affect her so much that she will not be able to come out of it because it was such an impressionable age, right? And then you can get into all sorts of things. Like it can, like you can
You
go
can
and
repeat the pattern. Like even if you get out of, yeah.
exactly, you can repeat the pattern, or you can like substance abuse, or like, not being able to respect yourself, like getting into more toxic like there could have been like a lot of repercussions, or staying in that relationship and like, going through that cycle of toxicity and abuse and everything. But I don't know, it was just sort of a miracle for me that how I got out. And I still remember, uh so my so I'm with Sahil now. I'm married to him, happily married, everything. And I remember I was still with that person, still clinging on when I met Sahil. It was that transition phase, and Sahil could have might as well been a rebound, or something like that. But for me to have healed, for me to have like identified, for me to have closed off the chapters and those patterns and start fresh and build a healthy relationship, and how my personality changed from there to like to a healthy individual. I think that has been my highlight. Like overall, that has been my highlight.
I see that as one of your personal highlights, but for me, I also see your professional highlight, which I think you don't recognize it, and but I have recognized it. I think a lot of your 20s is figuring out what you want to do. I
Yeah.
think it's more scary. I mean, it's scary at any stage of not knowing what to do, what you exactly want to do, what you're passionate about. But I think you really took your time to understand where you want to be, because I feel like you're
Too
so.
much time.
No, no, that's fine, because I think that also comes from having a lot of talent in different phases and different aspects of your life, right? When you were in school, you were so involved in dramatics. So I know you have a theater flair. You're very good with your words. I know you have like an English flair in you. You are able to sort of communicate really well, but you also have this creative flair that you didn't cultivate too much at in school, but working with your parents, very creative business that that allowed you to do creative things. So you had all of these talents, and you weren't able to make sense of exactly what
I,
you
I
want,
was not.
right? So I
Not it.
think, imagine like not figuring that out and trying to get a job and not being then happy with that job. At least now you know exactly what you want to do. You've used all of your sort of experiences to make sense of exactly where you think you fit in, and then you've been doing that work even before you came for your masters. You were doing that work, and now you're getting a degree in that, so that you know exactly how to use your knowledge plus like an educational background to get the job you want. I think that's been like a very big
Yeah, so
professional.
I really feel, yeah, yeah, and you have been a very important, you've played a very, I still remember exactly when I sort of now chalked it out and you were there on the call with me, where you said, okay, you know what, you want to do work in the social space, in the development space, in the impact space, and you have a flair of communications, you need to bring it both together and build a career. And that was the turning point when I was like, yeah, this is what I need to do. Like, yeah, like this is the combination I need to go with. Having said that, I still feel, and I know that my 30s are going to be the years where, mm, I will actually be recognized, or I will actually be able to lay out my professional journey in a way that I want it to be, like clearly with clear defined achievements and things. And I just feel it's fine. Like it's fine. Like I mean, it's okay. Like I
Of course, it's fine, because that's literally how my life is
you
reflected
have
in
been,
my
but you
personal
have
life.
been very sorted in your professional life.
I've been very sorted because,
Very sorted. Like it's
yeah,
inspiring
because
how
I'll tell you what, and that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people think, oh, like she figured out in her 20s what she wanted to do. I've been working at this since I've been 16. The first day I took political science,
I
and
know.
it sparked that joy in me, and I started doing heavy research on governance structures in Nepal, in India, around the world. And then my political science teacher was like, you need to get into law. Like that's where you should go. And it's so crazy. Before I came to Harvard, I met her at a bar in Delhi. Like, what are the odds? But yeah, I met her at Pearl.
Wow, Rashmi.
Yeah, Rashmi, I met her, and I was like, I'm
I'm
going.
going to Harvard, ma'am. All thanks to you.
She was like, you go do law. And I remember her telling me that, there was a spark in me, and I did political science, but I wish I did law. So then I was like, you know what, I'm going to do law in India, give it 5 years. So when I entered law school, I was 17. I was working towards getting into that law school since I was 16, right? And since 16, I remember when I entered law school, and the thing is, when you enter law school, everyone enters with the sense of, I want to do right in the world, I want to do justice, I want to do human rights. And I remember some, like a fifth year person asking me, oh, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to do human rights. And they're like, you know what? Give it 5 years. By the end of 5 years, you're going to move to corporate law. And I was like, I really don't think I am, because, I know what I've come to do, and I'm so clear about it. But even then, I did a few like corporate and litigation internships to figure out.
Passion.
And yes, I also did a fashion internship. I just want to
Yeah.
let everyone know I did a fashion internship in the middle of law school. None of this is sparking that joy in me, so I'm just going to stick to my path of what I set out to do. So I did give other things a chance, like I didn't want to be so jaded.
But then again, Jesso, again, what I'm trying to tell you, even your experimentation was within a timeline. And okay, you can like chide me for it or whatever, was within an acceptable timeline.
Okay,
At 19,
okay, tell me something. If I flip this over into the professional side, I've been very experimental with my personal life. Like, even though it's not something that I set out to be, right? I got out of a 9 year relationship when I was 22. Like, it's unimaginable that I got out of it. Everyone was like, you don't, like, you've been together since you were 13 years
30,
old.
I know.
We met when I was 13, through middle school, high school, and college. I was with that person. At 22, I was like, you know what? This is not good for me. I need to get out of it. And then I was like, I'm going to be single for a while. And then at 26, I got into another relationship. And that's what I was telling you. And I think that's, if you ask me, my personal highlight. Like, if you ask someone who's gotten married in their 20s, their personal highlight, it probably could be, I met the love of my life and got married, right? But that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you. How you tell me that, the 20s has been your way of understanding what you want and what you don't want in your professional life. 20s for me has been what I want and don't want, understanding that in my personal life.
How different, no? Like,
But it's so
best
poetic.
friends. But we are best friends, huh?
It's
We are
so
best.
poetic, though.
But that's true. Like, we are best friends. Similar circumstances, educated, studied, everything. And yet, our journeys have been like, yeah, like I would say I have been quite clear in
Yeah,
my, like, I just, when I met Sahil, I was 22. I just knew that
yeah,
this is it.
yeah,
I don't know from where that clarity came. I was so young. Whether it was immaturity, it was infatuation, I don't know what it was, but whatever it was like that whole spark of joy that you were so clear about. I just had that 100% clarity that this is it. Like, my search stops here. I don't want to immediately get married, but this is what I want to build on. And then I spent like 7 years just building on that with a
yeah,
lot of clarity, a lot of maturity. I think I'm very proud of how I and like how Sahil and I like built that.
yeah. So, like,
But while I had that clarity,
yeah.
my professional life, like,
No, but that's what I'm trying to say. I think there are two ways to gain that clarity. One, it's this spark that comes in you. That
yeah.
came for me when I started studying political science, human rights, governance, and I was like, this is it. That spark came to you when you met Sahil. That spark hasn't come to me in the people that I've been involved with, but it has also given me a chance to do trial and error. Getting it? Like, okay, this has worked. These are the qualities that work for me. These are the qualities that don't work for me in a long-term partner. If it is a short-term partner, what are the things that I want to be open about? What is the side of me that I don't want to be open about, right? And you've seen this. I've been very different in my short-term relationships versus like long-term
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
And I think for your for your professional life, it's been that trial and error. You've done internships at specifically human rights focused organizations, but you felt that, what, there is this lack of communication. They're doing such great work, but why isn't the communication going out? Then you've done in completely like
Communication,
entrepreneurial
corporate work, and then I miss the
corporate work.
impact. Yeah.
Yeah. right? So it's like trial and error. Sometimes the spark comes to you, and that's great. It could come to you for anything.
Because it's not that I haven't earned money. So it's not that. Like I have been able to take care of myself. I have been able to
Yeah.
like be independent and all. But it's just like if I have to define my career, I'm still scrambling for words. Like who am I? What am I? Like what have I done? Like it's just a range of like uh, different myriad projects that have not really like given me a title, like a defined career trajectory.
But
But
that's fine. Like if someone
that's
asks
no,
me,
but it's fine. Just so it's fine. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you one thing, okay? It's the whole bloody politics of time, you know. It's
who are you talking to? You're telling me that the politics of time plays
just
even,
heavier on you.
yeah,
I
it's so heavy.
It's heavier on you. It is because I'll tell you it's pathetic, but today, as a married woman, who has made money and like has like a sort of good bank balance and all that, and husband is doing well, parents are good, everything is good. If today after my masters I try a little bit and I go like nahi karna yaar, I don't want to do it, let me just have a baby, I am not going to get that much flack for it. But if tomorrow you say, after like god forbid another failed relationship, you just go like I don't want to get married, I'm just gonna like have a baby on my own, same thing both of us are doing, but you're gonna get so many raised eyebrows. I might get a little bit of pity, but still, like, people will understand. They'd be like, "Shadi to kar li usne, she's settled." But you will always be like, it'll always be for you that, oh ho, इतना career बढ़ाना था, इतना पढ़ाई लिखाई करनी थी, इतना दिमाग, she's gone way too far for like.
I think people look at it as parallels. They look at yours as having a choice. They look at me as lack of having choice.
Yeah. Like
Right?
too much only. This though is just I have also faced it before I got married. Now I'm in everyone's good books. But every time so many people, even the people I deeply, deeply love, have come and told me that इतना ज़्यादा भी नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए. Shouldn't read that much also that you are not able to adjust with the partner. You know? Don't wait for your mind to mature to such an extent that adjustment becomes an obstacle. You know? And this hypocrisy really
Because that's the thing, right? Like, and I was talking to someone the other day about this. Why are women convinced to marry at a very young age? Because you have less sort of less demands of
a
the
mind
home.
of your own.
Yeah,
You talk
exactly.
to any of our moms. My mom married at 20. My aunts have all married in their early 20s. At that time, people used to marry and every person would say it either jokingly or with in a shy way or in whichever way. They'll always be like, we did not have any agency only to say anything. Whatever our mother in law said, we did it. Whatever our parents said, we did it. Whatever my husband wanted, we did it. Who had that much of like agency? Sometimes they'll mock, sometimes they'll have a chip on their shoulder also that this is the right way of doing. Sometimes they'll get upset, sometimes they'll be frustrated, whatever. But this is a common theme always. No lack, like it's as if you have nipped a flower in the bud and you're just like, now she's eligible, like you've neutered a person and you're like, and if you train a woman, educate a woman for too long, get her really like get her to have a career and all, then it becomes difficult for her to get married.
Of course, because then you start questioning, like, marriage is a patriarchal institution, and I think we need to acknowledge that. I think traditional forms of marriages are patriarchal institutions. Earlier, when women were getting married to men, a lot of the benefits that women got was financial benefit, right?
Yeah.
Class benefit, protection of house, whatever, land, etc. Now, women are coming with all of that on their own. So now we're asking, okay, what are the benefits you're giving me? Like all of the benefits that society told you to give to me, I don't want that because I have all of that
I have
secured.
all of
I've
that.
done 30 years of,
Which is
getting
why
an
this whole,
education.
which is why this whole thing, right? Like I faced it so much while I was getting married, like coming from like a business class. business family, and Sahil was a professional. So it was like a very like thing, because there was this always this notion that, listen, you need to go into a family where, like, whatever the business we are doing, it should be a bigger business, and you should get into that family, because then how else are you justifying that I
Then
need.
you should always marry up.
No, but then how else are you justifying, right? Like,
Yeah.
why else would I need the marriage?
Like,
Like,
as in, like economic up is the only up you need,
yeah,
right?
because
The
then
rest
again,
of
what
it
you're
is
trying
not
to
what you
say now,
need.
that whole protection thing. So
Yeah.
again, then coming back to this, like, I just feel, this whole politics of time is why, in the first place, I would also give up trying. If at all I do not get a job at 31, 32, I would have to bow down to the whole politics of time, because then I'd be like, listen, I'm not getting a job. Whatever I have, I have. Fuck this, let me have a baby, because then one aspect of my life is like, whatever. Then similarly it goes for you, like, we're only like, sitting like and playing with this whole time.
I think the thing is, either way, whether you've got your personal life down or your professional life down, it's the politics of time is always catching up, right? But then
Yeah.
also you have these examples like Deepika Padukone had a baby at 38.
Yeah. No, I am so like, even in West, and now in Indian celebrities, all of them are having babies at a later age. Like, all of them are having in their early 40s, in their late 30s. And that gives you like, that in fact, so many times Sahil has told me that it's fine, like, look at her, look at this, look at Deepika, she just had a baby, so it's fine, like, why are you like stressing about it? But even if not, but there is this constant thing, and I just feel in my 30s I really want to like unchain myself from it. Like, I just want to like live on my. Yesterday I was watching a very silly podcast, and they said that, and I think we can end with that if you want, or whatever, we can continue talking. He said that there was an experiment done. This was an actor, a podcast where an actor was talking. He said that there was an experiment that was done, and there was a 400-meter racing circle, and people were put, whatever, people had to race and like compete against each other, and all the people, like, the people were put at different points. So someone was put like at 200 meters, someone was put like 50 meters beyond, before the starting line, and like at different points, right? And then obviously then people revolted, and they were just like, but you're not even starting like on the same plane. And then the whole implication, and the whole like whatever the of the study was, that is how life is. Today, the point at which I am starting is so different from the point of that person whose LinkedIn post is depressing me. You know how we were talking that I go on LinkedIn, and it depresses me, and then you were just like, yeah, I feel the same when you go on Instagram, and that's
Instagram.
so interesting. That's such a
Like
interesting
Instagram,
indication.
every second person is getting married or engaged, and it doesn't depress me. I don't think it's depressing. I'm just like,
Yeah,
there are so many there's so many things for friends to post about than just getting engaged. I wish my friends celebrated, and I'm not saying me, I'm saying I wish friends celebrated having a career, starting your master's degree at 30, having a new career at 30, joining the gym
people
again
do,
after a
but
big
just
hiatus.
people do post about it. Let me correct you. People do post about it.
I'm
But
saying not
me,
one
me,
person.
my marriage milestone, the amount of traction that got on social media,
That's what I'm saying.
vis-a-vis me getting a
Master's
degree,
degree.
there's no comparison. There's no comparison. There is no
Like, it's
fucking
like
comparison.
your
So
biggest
now my next
achievement.
biggest milestone would be when I announce a baby.
Yeah,
That will be what will shake the internet,
yeah.
not me getting a job.
Yeah. So that is, it doesn't depress me people are getting married. I'm really happy for them. What irks me is that we need to start celebrating women's wins beyond marriage and relationship.
तो फिर वो LinkedIn पे होता है ना, then LinkedIn also, then like then it's that also like makes me feel like, oh my god, like,
But LinkedIn is not like Instagram where your friends are posting for you. You post, like, it's very weird. Like, people just write a whole, I am so grateful, blah, 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 I've got a thing, and then people like and all. But it's not like this. The metrics of it is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, like, maybe I'm okay in the Instagram space, like watching all of that. Like, okay, I'll mock people sometimes. I just be like, whatever. But when I go to LinkedIn and I see like these posts, like director of communications at whatever a firm, or someone, like the other day I saw like someone from our batch, she's running a fucking PR agency yeah, in Mumbai, with like people reporting under her. And I called up my mom and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what have I done? There are people running full businesses, you know? But then again, it's like, from which point she started, from which point I started, from which point you've started, you cannot, like, it's a futile thing that we just do to ourselves
And
to
I
like,
think we did this example in class, and maybe this is where we can end this conversation about how this racetrack with people starting at different points in life, you can never put everyone at the same point from class, caste, gender, everything. It can never be at
economic
the same point.
finances.
Finances, everything. So that's where affirmative action, or like quotas or affirmative action, whatever you want to call it, or in the US as they call it DEI, diversity,
Yeah.
equity, inclusion, that comes in. So what is the politics of that? Do we understand it more because we're when we're a minority versus when we are in the majority? I think that's a conversation.
Over here, DEI is very, very personal to me, because then I am directly benefiting. But back in India, probably like the quota system, I wouldn't even care about it that
Because I
much.
remember having this exact conversation with you 10 years back, and I feel like you felt slightly differently. I know you were like, obviously, we were engaging in a conversation, but I think that's interesting to see the politics of self, and are we inherently selfish when it comes to social benefits? I think that'll be interesting to understand.
Maybe we'll
Thank
do
you.
it. Maybe
Yeah.
we will take that topic up. We should take that topic up in our next podcast. So many topics. I just feel this was a good introduction for everyone. And
Yeah, to all our listeners, hopefully LA, New York, everything in between and beyond, South Asia, everywhere. I'm really excited for people to engage. And, this is our Valentine's special to show you how much I love my BFF, that we've been working for a year to get this podcast on the show.
this
But
is our love language,
yeah,
So this podcast is our love language. It is the way we talk to each other. It is the way conversations
it is the
meander.
way we make sense of life. I
Yeah.
think that's our love language. Having conversations, reflecting politically, socially, and internally reflecting. Like, it's not always about, like, critiquing the system, but also like reflecting, okay, how am I benefiting from it? How are you benefiting from it? We come from different countries, different races, if you will. And
And how do we navigate
and how
life?
do we navigate life? And I think that the love language for us to navigate life is really to have these conversations
And
almost every day.
also, Jesso, and also keeping each other in check. I
Yeah.
just feel even that's our love language. I just feel I would be lost if I don't have our everyday conversations.
Yeah, because there are times where I have to be like, okay, no, you're sounding cray, and you sometimes you're like, no, you're sounding cray, right? Like when we're spiraling. So I think it's important to have a love language that helps you get through life. I think
And
that's
I really hope that through this podcast, as we navigate, because we are literally going to take our phone call conversation, the time we spend talking to each other, and we're going to put that conversation on this podcast. So I just feel as we because I just, Jesso and I have spoken about it, I just feel we are very fortunate to have such an honest friendship where we check each other, where we sort of are not afraid of expressing our deepest, darkest thoughts, and having the other person pull, navigate, steer you clear from that. And I just feel not everyone has that. Not everyone has that. And I feel maybe through these conversations, there are some topics that we touch upon that maybe if you listen to it, it helps you out, because by the end of it, I just feel friendships are very universal. They are personal, but the essence of it is universal. And if in this process you find a friendship in our conversations, then that's what we're getting at, right?
absolutely. Bye.
Bye bye.
my favorite